Isn't it amazing, guys? You're gonna have a bad time. You can tell I was very selective. Oh, that's my girl. You love to see it. I tried. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 healthy eggs. Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Josh, owner and founder of The Biodude. Thank you for checking out my channel. Feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. It goes a really long way. And today I have a really exciting video to show you guys. I'm going to give you my full in-depth updated tour of my showroom. Let's go. So you guys are aware that I redid my showroom a couple months ago. It took us a long time, extensive planning with cages and everything, and I'm gonna go through each enclosure with you, and I'm gonna talk about what's in there, if they're breeding for us, what type of projects we have, as well as what levels of bioactivity that we have. So we're gonna start over here. So you guys all remember this habitat. So this was Miss Smithers' habitat, but Miss Smithers is now home with me. She's gonna be living the rest of her life at my house with my family, but we do have a beautiful female in here with Mr. Smithers right now, and they are actually both deep into the cork tubes. Now this is a really large habitat. This is a 6 foot by 3 foot by 4 foot habitat. We have a very nice healthy layer of terra firma in here with different layers of biodegradables. It is seeded with powder white isopods, powder blue isopods, dwarf white isopods, and let's see when I lift this up in the water bowl if anything goes skirtling. There's a whole bunch of springtails in here, but I didn't see any pods go skirting. I can tell you they're in here, but for us to get this tank established, it took months. Making sure the cleanup crew had enough food. You can see here that this is all that's left of the shed from Mr. Smithers that he just gave us about a week ago. And you can see that it's just been completely eaten. We do have to spot clean this tank fairly regularly because their bowel movements are so large. We're primarily talking about the urates. But you can see the firma has been very healthy and it's been really rejuvenated in here. We have a beautiful Schefflera tree with a beautiful Monstera in here, all of which are thriving with a whole bunch of different tubes and stuff. When it gets really hot and humid outside, we'll typically have the fans on. We have 2 sets of fans for an intake and an outtake to help with, obviously, airflow and things like that. But you guys know that I absolutely love my Bredl's pythons, and I'm really happy that I'm actually getting to work with them, and we're actually breeding them. So this was great. I really loved how it's looking. The snakes are thriving, and we're hoping to be successful again this year. And initially with this habitat, we had a little bit of problem with bowing, as you can see here. But we ended up putting like a special brace here at the base, and that pretty much fixed it entirely. So we're hoping to get another 8 to 10 years out of this habitat. They are just starting to warm up now. The female was cooled since October. So we raised up her temps, and we're gonna see if they lock up. Fingers crossed. So this habitat right here is my 1836 Borneo eared frog habitat. I want you guys to get a really close look here. So if you guys remember, some of the plants I put in here were rough shit. They were rough. You can see that the rattlesnake vine, the calathea, did extremely well. The philodendron that I put back here, it did not survive as much as I would have loved it to. It just completely disintegrated after a couple days of being in here. You can see that the moss that I put around has taken. We can see some of the moss growing and attaching here. We did have to move the Monstera a little bit because it was blocking a lot of the light coming in here, but it's doing good. Since they've been in here, they have bred for us 3 times, which is amazing. We've gotten healthy tadpoles out of 2 of the 3 clutches. Now, I absolutely love the Borneo eared frogs. Not only have we at the Biodude been breeding them for many, many, many years, they are an amazing beginner tree frog. They have this very unique cryptic coloration. They remind me of, you know, of aliens. Their unique skeletal structure, musculoskeletal structure, the casques above their eyes, and their eye slits go horizontal instead of vertical, which is Very, very different. You don't see that in a lot of different critters. So this is one of my males, and you can see he is chunky. I mean, look at that belly. He's probably looking, he was out basking. So another thing about these frogs is they bask. Very much like my Chinese gliders, very much like white street frogs. They will bask and they love UVB. You can actually see them, look at this. And you can actually see back here, they're in plexus. He's gone to town again, so we're probably gonna see another nest. I'd pull him out, but I don't want to disturb. So here in Texas, we've been having a lot of really hot, then really cold, really hot, then really cold. And a lot of times when you have those types of pressure changes, whether it's the barometric pressure or whether it's just straight temperature, with these guys being right next to the door, they can tolerate cooler temps. But we find when there are temperature swings, that variance, these guys just go absolutely crazy. And again, we love these guys. We highly recommend keeping them, and we love this habitat. The water is being kept crystal clear. We're able to do a water change about once a week. As to speak with the isopods and springtails, I don't see any dead isopods in the water, nor do I see any springtails floating in the water, but I do know that we really seeded this tank and they're all likely in the back. We are not letting the water level go past the HydroGrow version 1 drainage layer. But this is my 18 by 18 by 36 Zoomed, Borneo eared frog habitat with my 22-inch glow and grow LED and with a Biodude solar lamp fixture with an Arcadia 3% shade dweller in there. And it has been working really, really well for us. I love this habitat. I love how it turned out. I'm a little upset the one plant that I made didn't survive, but that's okay. You know, you're not gonna win them all. This is my Chinese gliding frogs. So if you guys remember, my pair of Cuban nightingales were in here. It got to the point where we could not keep the Cubans together anymore because the female kept eating the male. More and more of his tail kept being away, and quite frankly, they were so calm and nice. So we actually found them a really, really good home, and they are getting mad lovin's right now. So so we moved our Chinese gliding frogs in here because we are going to be making a concerted effort to breed them this year. I was successful breeding them about 6 years ago, actually about 7 years ago, but ever since then I haven't been able to get the female to leave, to lay her eggs. We've gotten in plexus, we've gotten all the behaviors. I just haven't got past the tadpole stage with these guys yet, and I'm really hoping to do it this year. So as you guys can see, this is a complete water bottom. We do have, as you can see, to mimic the rain chamber, we have a pump that is going up through this big tube and then out through that tube in the back, and then it's draining down the water through mechanical filtration, which is going to help get some of the debris and stuff out of the water and then falling down into this tube. The biggest things with these guys is they need big, big, big leaves to be able to facilitate their egg sacs because their egg sacs are huge. As far as maintenance is concerned, we have to make sure the water doesn't leap out onto my rug. We've had that issue a couple times, but we're getting there. Making sure that we keep the water nice and clean from dead crickets, dead isopods, and things like that. This tank was seeded with mainly burrowing isopods, primarily dwarf white and dwarf purples. And guys, I really can't stress how amazing of a species these are. I got these frogs about 10 years ago from Sean Harrington, the frog whisperer, as a wild caught group. And unfortunately, during that time, I did lose 2 of them many years ago, but I've had this group since. Very much like the Borneos, these guys love basking. They love to have a UVB spot. They like to have a hot spot. And of course, they also like to have a water area. And the biggest thing with these guys is you have to be careful when you hold them because like tomato frogs, they release a very sticky goo. And if you ingest some of that sticky goo, you're gonna have a bad time. So check it out. Look how fat these guys are. Like, look, this guy's got mad love handles. Look at this. We love you, dude. But again, the Rhacophorus are honestly one of my favorites. And if you look at my female right here, if you look at her eye, my wife actually thinks this is from old age, like cataracts, because she is well over 10 to 12 years old. Which is, guys, it's amazing that I have amphibians that have been living for this long, given with how sensitive they are. But these guys are probably one of my favorite animals in my showroom, and we almost gave them up to some breeders, but I decided to keep them and have them be a central focus of some of our breeding project goals here at the Biodude. My favorite thing about this tank, besides the animals and just how nice and vibrant and open it is this fern. This fern, we brought in a couple of these on our last plant shipment. The bee's knees, man, we are really lucky to have them. So we do have these ferns on my website, I believe, which are doing great. And you can see here the rock wall that's holding everything together. And we just fed this morning. So that's why there are some crickets in the water. Don't be alarmed. We make sure to empty out all the crickets every single day. So that way we don't have bad, poor water quality. And then over here, we have one of my little extra fun tanks. So if you guys recall, I did get 2 mud turtles. So one thing I did learn is you cannot keep pebbles with little turtles because they will eat the pebbles. I unfortunately I thought I could get away with it, but we did lose both of our musk turtles. And after my wife did the necropsy, we found the pebbles in one of them, and we couldn't explain the death of the other. So now this tank specifically belongs to my bluegills. So you guys know that I love to fish. It's one of my ways to keep my brain healthy. And I'm a big saltwater fisherman, but I also grew up in Pennsylvania where I would fish the creeks to catch rainbow trout and some other stuff. And crappies or bluegill are another common thing that we would find on our road trips. Almost a year and a half ago, I took a cast net to one of my little local ponds and cast netted 5 of these guys. And they were maybe the size of a small goldfish you'd win at a fair. And since then, my boys they're almost ready for the pan, I jokingly say to my associates, which they would kill me if I did this. But these Texas bluegills are getting really big. My hope one day with these guys is after they get full size that I'll be out of this building by then and we'll have a giant walk-in Texas themed habitat with bluegills, largemouth bass, or maybe some spotted alligator gar living in the base layer, and then with Texas native reptiles living above to create like a marsh. That's always been a dream of something I've wanted to do, and this is just getting my feet wet with it. But we are running this with an OACE filter that does about 225 gallons per hour. That does mechanical, chemical, and biological filtration. We do have the Arcadia Thermal Zoo Pro up here with heating and UVB, although these guys, they don't need it. We absolutely love the bluegills. They are a lot of fun, and you can definitely see the unique hierarchy as it develops in here, and it's a lot of fun. I also learned a little bit more about behaviors with fish, with how they interact around structure, which helps me become a better fisherman. Okay, so over here, this is one of my customs that I am very patiently waiting on. Woo! I fit just inside here. So I have a couple ideas of what I want to put in here. This is something that I should hopefully have done by the end of the year. My curator of fauna and myself, we are considering green tree monitors, but keeping them as a pair may be challenging. And being able to separate out this tank is going to be pretty tough. We're also considering a bonded pair of monkey tail skinks. That's another species that I would absolutely adore. They're up top of my list, but this is something that I'm going to be hopefully doing soon. As you can see, this whole wall is built with a custom wooden frame that we built in-house. We designed all of this from scratch. As you know, Zach, our curator, he did such an amazing job. Kages did such an amazing job, and then we ended up getting everything built, and I couldn't be happier with how everything looks. And everything is built in to be self-regulated, self-heated, all that good stuff. So over here, we have, I love this habitat. This is a 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot build. You guys did see the YouTube video for this, I'm assuming. In here is my breeding pair of skunk geckos. Now, you don't see skunk geckos very often, and I'm not really sure why, but my goodness, are they amazing, amazing terrarium subjects. Oh man, we have so many springtails and isopods in here. Like, just so if you just look there, you can just see a little ball of poo under the water bowl covered in springtails. Do you see them? We seeded this with powder orange, Dalmatians, and Lavises, just because of how much waste these geckos produce. We have a whole bunch of different epiphytes in here, such as Neoregalia bromeliads. We have some aglaonemias, as well as a beautiful, beautiful Homalonema right here. And this plant was a rescue plant that was almost dead, and we put it in here, and it's thriving. Now, I know for a fact that there are eggs in here. We had eggs on these, but we ended up putting them in the incubator. But they've been having a tendency to lay their eggs inside the cork. So I guess we're gonna wait and see for little babies to show up in here. But regardless, it's really awesome that they were breeding in their temporary habitat, and then we got them to breed within here. Down here, this is another similar habitat. This is a 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot. And I built this for a pair of Uroplatus phantasticus. Now, these guys are in quarantine right now. When it's time to introduce them, I'll be sure to do a video to show you guys. But I love this tank. So it's fairly scarce in here. I wanted to keep it as open as possible. We have some beautiful alocasias. I got some birch mounted, and then we have a whole assortment of tillandsias in here. We have some smaller ferns in here, and the reason I'm showing you this tank is I want you to see that not everything's gonna work out. But if you actually look, you can actually see an isopod on the wall eating the dilapidated piece of fern. You know what you can see, the ferns here at the bottom, they're not doing terrible, but these were all like, I pulled them out of my greenhouse and they had 2 stems on them. You know, every plant in here was, we were gonna loss out these plants, and I said no. You know, let's try to turn them into something beautiful, and I think we did. So that's why there's no water bowl in here. Nothing is living in here yet. This tank has been cycling for over 90 days. We seeded it with dwarf purple and dwarf white isopods and very, 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 very many springtails, in hopes that the population is going to be nice and dense for when the phantasticuses come to live in here. I love how we use the birch. I love how it looks. This is one of my favorite habitats in this whole building. It's so different than anything else that we have, and I think it mimics their habitat pretty well. And not to mention, I'm really excited to start working with Uroplatus. So let's look at the top 4 here. Now, as part of my breeding project of working with the Bredl's pythons, it's really important that not only do I look at our DNA, i.e. in the form of holding back, but I also make sure to have other types of lineages to cross those lineages to make sure that our genetic pool stays healthy, and to make sure that, you know, I'm holding back my most beautiful specimens so that way we can continue to create high-end looking babies. So these 4 are my holdbacks from Miss Smitherses' clutch. So we built these 4 to be somewhat similar because we wanted to give the snakes a lot of different options in here, but I also wanted the snakes to be visible because, well, we want people to see just how amazing they are. So let's start with this one over here. This is actually, if I'm not mistaken, my female. I'm gonna have to look at the... So it is just amazing how much larger that they've gotten in just a couple months. We interact with them fairly frequently, and the reason I kept this one back, because if you look on the cranial aspect, top of the head, you can see that there is a decent amount of stripage, but what I like the most is the spots. Look at the spots going down. They look crazy. They're not bands, but they're spots. Most Bredls have full bands going from the top of the head down, whereas she just has those spots, and she has that nice orange color to her. So I expect her to be a fire critter when she gets a little bit older. And I just love my clients to kind of see how these Bredl's pythons grow, what their temperament's like, and what type of habitat that youngins are gonna need. This habitat will likely last her another probably 1.5 years, which then they'll need to be moved out of these into something bigger, which then we will be ready. And I'm excited to share that with you guys. Let me take a, then there's this guy over here, which this is really funny. Come here, Sophie. So Thursday is feeding day, and look at him right down there. Can you see him sticking his little head out? These guys were loaded with party mix isopods and springtails. So let me see if I can lift up. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. Let me see if I can get her out. This is actually not a her, I believe this is one of my males. Are you going in the shed? Is that why you're on the ground? I think so. Okay, now this one, very similar, has the spots towards the cranial end, but also has more of a enunciated stripe on the sides. But really what I like the most is like, just look at that bright orange coloration towards the middle here, from here to here. I expect this color to go all over the place, and you can just see how well they're doing. And they are eating frozen thawed right now. Now, with all these habitats, we did have to make some adjustments with them, and we hope to offer these Kages habitats soon of this size, but we siliconed the inside and made a couple other adjustments to make sure that we, you know, didn't have leaks or escapees or bugs coming out or anything like that. And then we have another one, Bredl's in here, and then our other Bredl's in here. So this guy is actually loped around multiple different branches, and you can see right there. You can see that I chose to use a lot of Sansevieras, some Hoyas, or some ferns, or some philodendrons for all these builds, because that is just what made it easy. And let me see, come here, baby. Come here. Again, you guys can tell, I mean, just look at the head. You can tell I was very selective. Oh, that's my girl, you love to see it. So this is obviously this temperament we're gonna train out, right? With interacting, holding, doing checks with like IE for mites and other things like that. Just getting them used to hands. Look at that, already drew blood. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Oh, my big baby. So, you know, this is why I love these guys. They're so amazing. But this guy, he is hands down one of the most beautiful holdbacks that I have. And again, I'm really excited for my project to mature in about 5 years, and I have the ability to create about 100 Bredl's pythons a year. You can see we also have these nice little signs here, QR codes that take you to care sheets and some other things like that. Sophie did a really good job putting those together for us. So and then over here, this is a 6x2x2. In here, we have Little Miss Attitude. Don't bite me, come on. So this is one of my Ackie monitors. This is my female. Now, you guys are kind of noticing a theme here. There's a lot of Australian species in this showroom, and that is intentional. On top of us working with a lot of the Anateresia pythons, we are also wanting to work with some of the Australian monitor lizards. Ackie monitors are always up my favorites. These are red Ackie monitors. So what's really nice about these guys is they are very, very intelligent. They are extremely inquisitive, and they need a lot of space. The biggest thing with her is we gave her about 4.5 inches of substrate, and she uses every inch of this habitat. So this habitat is seeded with Terra Sahara. There is a network of tunnels, so if you come over here, you can actually see the entrance of her humid side right here that she has created, and then she usually goes right under here into her tube, and this is where she sleeps. And then you can see the entrance of this tube leads to another underground tunnel that likely connects to the back of here. The hot spot gets about 125 degrees. We have an assortment of aloes in here. This is maple rock. If this is something you'd like me to sell on my website, let me know. With an assortment of, we have a ponytail palm in here, a Haworthia, and then we have aloes over here. And these aloes are pretty spiky, and she seems to really like the spiky plants. I'm not really sure why. When it comes to the springtails and isopods, we did seed with arid springtails, and I'm trying to find us some of the isopods in here. And there's some of them. I see some superworms. I see a couple earwigs. Let me see if I can find. And I can already tell that the bugs have been doing work because the top layer is kind of dusty. Meaning like when I lift up the common areas where the bugs are and it looks really crumbly, that is primarily just because of the bugs just going through and eating everything. And then down here, we have my ocellated skinks. This is another 6-foot habitat. So in this habitat, we have a whole bunch of plants. We have some beautiful Sansevierias. We have some ponytail palm. We have a spaghetti agave. Then we have some aloe vera. As far as hardscape is concerned, we do have some bonestone, some cholla, some cork bark, some dragonstone, and some grapevine. We have a whole bunch of different stuff in here. I can tell you that the ocellateds did breed for us this year, and I believe they had, what, 12 babies? 12 total babies for us, and what's so amazing is that they are live bearers. And they're actually not out basking right now, but I know that we have a bunch of footage in there that Sophie will add later. If you look up here, you can see a whole bunch of springtails. This is on the hot side too, just to put it into perspective. So on the cool side, I'm gonna assume that there's probably even more different types of critters. Let's see. Oh, one of them. Here goes one of them. Let's see if he's gonna peek his head out. Oh yeah, there's so many springtails in here. Okay. And then we also, besides the crickets and roaches, and of course the occasional isopod, they also get fed a Pangea diet or Rapashi's meat treat, and they absolutely love that stuff. So we try to give them as much as a varied diet as possible. We love the ocellated skinks because they are a communal species, meaning they love to be in large groups or packs. They have very unique niches that come alive in the terrarium. There is always a head of the pack, which is usually the biggest female. At least in our cases, it's always been the biggest female. And they are very, very easy to care for, and they do not need a giant cage, but we give them a giant cage because, well, they deserve it. Now, I don't have a lot of ambassador animals here anymore, primarily just because overhead has gotten very high. It's a lot harder to do what we do. It's not easy owning a business in 2025, let me tell you. But we do have this habitat here and this habitat here. These are for my corn snakes. So a lot of people gave me a lot of grief. Why are you keeping your corn snakes together? Blah, blah, blah. These corn snakes have been together for like 8 years, if not longer. Nagini is very, very, very undersized for what she is. Truth be told, we got Nagini, this is Fierce. We got Nagini at the Hamburg Reptile Expo. I think when my wife and I first started dating, that was 14 years ago. She was smaller than an earthworm, and we had to feed her pinky heads, and I got her for $10. So I didn't think the snake was gonna survive, but here we are. So this is a really, really nice, this habitat's doing really well. We have a beautiful Korean rock fern with again, more Sansevieras and a Dieffenbachia in here, a good amount of moss. Now you can tell like stuff is just kind of pushed everywhere because that is what this snake does. He is very active, he loves to climb, and he just likes to say hello. Let's see how fierce we are going to be. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. So, Fierce is an amazing corn snake. Very, very, very chill. He is just a normal, well, I guess an albino. No, he's not an albino. He's just a normal Okati corn snake. He is a good size for being a male. He's not undersized at all like Nagini is. His habitat has a bunch of purple isopods in it. In fact, we even used some of the isopods from his habitat that we pooled to get some of our other habitats taken care of. But the biggest thing is with our snakes, we're always looking at our body score, making sure that we don't have any stuck shed, making sure that we're readily eating frozen thawed, and just making sure that we're enjoying our habitat, making sure that we are climbing and doing snake-like things, right? But this is Fierce, and he's a big baby. He's one of the few ambassador animals here that we have no, unless we find a female corn snake or someone wants to load us out for a breeding project, he's gonna live the rest of his days as a very happy single bachelor. Okay. All right. Now in here, this project is one of my favorite projects here at the Dude. And this is for my children's pythons. So this is another of the Anateresia genus we're working with. We're also working with Stimson's pythons as well as spotted pythons. And we hope to be breeding all of them within 3 years. But the children's we have been breeding for a very long time. And on top of that, these girls just laid a bunch of eggs. And I know that we ended up moving the eggs because we did have them self-incubating. You can see this is where the egg clutch was. And we ended up just putting the eggs in the incubator, and I'm gonna go take a look at them in a little bit. But children's are hands down one of the coolest snakes I think I have here. Just looking at this, I just see springtails everywhere. So the thing with these guys is they are very, very laid back. I mean, I can tell that she laid not that long ago. She lost a tiny bit of weight. She's not as rambunctious as some of her other counterparts, but overall she's doing extremely well. And another place that these guys like to hide. Here you go, baby. We're gonna give you a little bit of extra food this week because I can tell you're really hungry. So this is a 4x2x2. Check this out. Boom. Oh, this is the angry one. This is the one that, yeah, this is Bitey. We call her Bitey because it's the first children's python I think I've ever worked with that actually bites. She's doing pretty good right now. But I love about her, she has this beautiful iridescence to her. And now within this habitat, we are using terra firma with a mixture of terra sahara. We are using cork bark. There's a wide variety of different cryptanthuses in here, as well as a couple of philodendrons on the cool side. The hot side's pretty hot. And we've had these guys breeding now. This will be the second consecutive season. So that is really exciting to see. And again, if you are considering a starter snake instead of a corn snake or a ball python, I would urge you to look at children's pythons. They are, I love them. I don't know what it is, but I really, really, really like the children's. And they were actually called children's python, not because they're good with kids or anything, because of the guy who discovered them. His last name was children's. And then here's Nagini's habitat. And you guys can see Nagini's habitat has a whole bunch of stuff going on. Now, you guys, this is the snake that I was telling you guys about that we got from the Hamburg Reptile Show when she was only the size of a tiny earthworm, and we had to give her pinky heads. Guys, she's 15. Look how small she is. She's not even 2.5 feet long. She's healthy. She's locked up with fierce probably like 10, 12 times in her lifetime, never produced eggs. It has always been this docile, has always been this nice. This was in fact the very first snake that my wife got to work with, as well as the first snake that my daughter got to interact with. Nagini will always have a special place here for us at the Bio Dude, and we decided to separate her out because my goal isn't to be in this building forever. My goal is to eventually have a showroom that's 3 times this size that highlights all of the work we're doing, and my goal is to hopefully have her in her own 8 to 10 foot cage, and it's only hers. This habitat, I love it. You can also, if you look over here, you can actually see some fungus growing where the shed was left. You can see the little yellow mushrooms popping up. We have a whole bunch of different ferns in here. We have Korean rock ferns, Neantha, bella palms, aglaonemias, pothos, and you can see where the cleanup crew have just been going crazy with the snake shed. You just see pieces of the scales right here of the leavings that they've left from what they didn't eat. And then there is just so many isopods and springtails in here. I can just lifting this up, hundreds of springtails just came about. Let me see if I lift this up. Just a lot of springtails. Okay. So again, we tend to leave the shed in here. We tend to really not clean that much up. We do spot clean her habitat every once in a while, primarily to get the urates and other things like that. But she's a very special critter here, and we're really lucky to have her. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I haven't got to do a tour like this in a long time, so let's go over here. Now, these are another prototype size that we've been working with Kages on, and this is a cage I really, really want to carry. I'm trying to get Kages to get it down to a really good price point, so if a 2 cube is something that you would like to see BioDude have, drop a line in the comments and let us know. So in here, this is for my Brazilian golly wasps. So this is another brooding project that I just haven't been able to get us there yet. So if you come right here, you can actually see him sticking his head out of the leaf right there on the forest floor. Do you see him? So these guys are an amazing species. When they are young, they look like little zebras. They have black and white stripes, and being a golly wasp, They do okay in groups. We do have a female and a male in here, and they are live bearers, very much like the ocellated skinks and emerald tree skinks. So we're really hoping that we're gonna wake up, hopefully this year, and see some babies. They typically spend a lot of their time in the mornings on the ground floor. Look at him just sticking. He's like, no, where you going? And down he goes. They have a whole network of tunnels in here. This is a mixture of terra fauna and terra firma, primarily 80% firma with a little fauna mixed in on top to help with that humidity. We have a spider plant in here with a whole bunch of bromeliads scattered all over the place. They tend to come out and bask towards the afternoon. These guys are nectar eaters, very much like crested geckos, but also need some protein in their diet. So we give them roaches, worms, and other things like that. Over here, we have our breeding pair of Central American banded geckos. Now, we did a build video on this, and here's a good indication of how that tank is doing. Besides a little bit of this stuff up here, which is gonna happen because of how the temperature in here, this tank is doing extremely well. They tend to hide out in here, right down here. Oh, he just bit me. And he just went down into the back. So these guys did start breeding for us about 2 weeks into being in here. And there is a whole bunch of springtails. I want to lift up a water bowl and show you guys a whole bunch of isopods just go psh. But again, sometimes that's not always the way it goes. The plant that was back here, the one that I said I was going to keep an eye on, this one didn't do too great. As you can see, it completely died. We should actually remove that. That's okay. Give me a second. So this is part of our learning curve here. We even have plants die at the Biodude. Can you believe it? They have a tendency to go to the hot side towards the evening and go to the cool side towards the morning. They almost always inherently sleep together. That is like almost all the time that they are together. And they are thriving in here. We see them going up to the top. We see them going to the bottom. We see them use every inch of this habitat, and they're doing extremely well. And, you know, with us using the Firma Sahara mixture with these guys, I believe is what we used. Seeding with the powder orange isopods, ensuring that there's enough food in here for them. I think we've been doing an extremely good job. In here is our breeding group of viper geckos. Now, viper geckos, again, this was a build video that you guys like to see. We kind of have some stuff scattered around right here because they've been laying eggs like crazy. We have big pieces of calcium in here, the calcium bones that the critters have just been going after. We got the water bowl right here, and there is a good amount, again, more springtails. There's springtails everywhere. I just can't seem to find the isopods today. This rock crevice that's in here, so you can see like clearly the rock crevice wall and other things like that. You guys can see like they utilize every single inch of it. And I know that we've been posting really cool videos of them at nighttime and doing other things like that. So it's just one of those things that they use this habitat exactly the way that I was planning on them using it, which is awesome. Zach did add a little bit of these tillandsias in here, which I'm happy he did. They actually add a little bit of a spark in there because initially we didn't have any plants. As far as keeping the soil healthy, we are finding, because we don't have any plants in there to establish those different symbiotic relationships with the plant roots, we have to sift the dirt a little bit more often. So as far as substrate longevity, we may have to continually put in more viable resources for our cleanup crew and other things like that to maintain our bioactive aspect. But the viper geckos are thriving, and I apologize they're not pictured, but we're definitely going to drop some stuff in here so you guys can see. And I absolutely love the viper geckos. I love how they're doing. They're a lot of fun to keep. If you guys haven't seen them, check them out. We have them on Morph Market frequently. Now we have a 6-foot habitat, same exact size the Aki monitor's in, the female. And in here we put a divider in, going down the very, very middle, as you can see. And in here we have 2 female leopard geckos, a female leopard gecko on this side and a female leopard gecko on this side. As you can see, we kept them very similar to each other. 2 different hiding spaces, one on the cool side, one on the hot side. cryptanthus earth stars, agaves, and chrysula jades, and some sansevieras as plants. Seeded with powder orange isopods, and you guys can actually see oh, that's cool. There's a whole bunch of springtails right there. A little centipede. Oh, come here, baby. Here, are you hungry? Here. Here. There we go. Guys, a lot of people are like, Josh, I'm surprised you have leopard geckos. Why? And I say that in the nicest way possible, is I love leopard geckos. They were actually one of the first animals I ever had growing up. They're intelligent for being little geckos. They're very forgiving to beginners' mistakes. They have no problem being out and about and letting you know that they're enjoying their environment. They bask. They come out to climb. And they're fairly easy to take care of as long as you follow their parameters. Now, we have a female in each habitat because we have a male in the back that we just put in here. And we're breeding them so that way we can offer captive bred leopard geckos to you guys. All leopard geckos you're gonna find are gonna be captive bred. But what this allows us to do is not rely on third parties to provide us healthy captive bred babies. It allows us to have complete control of what type of animals that we are offering you here at the Dude. And again, these guys are just amazing little critters, and she is doing well. Really healthy population of powder oranges as well as some springtails. We are providing UVB heat and a really strict photo period for these guys, and they do just well. And she is a little chunk-a-monk. Yeah, yep, she's actually gravid. Yeah, so she's gravid. So let's look over here. Now we have the other one over here, and she, let's see if she wants to come out and say hello. So they love their rock. What's nice about rocks and reptiles is rocks absorb the heat, and it really, really helps get their photo period all shipped up into shape. So you can see, this is just a normal leopard gecko. Nothing fancy, no crazy colors, just a normal, healthy, cute little critter. Now, the biggest thing I look for these guys is when you're looking, you want to make sure they have all their toes, okay? They have a tendency to lose their toes from bad sheds. You look at eye color. You look if their eyes are sunken in or if they're like adjacent with like the rest of their head. And I'll look at their temperament. I love that I can just have this baby sitting right here and maybe offer us a waxworm out of my hand and see if we want it. You want a waxworm? You want it? Isn't it amazing, guys? I love the career choice I made. The fact that I get to come out here and just spend time with these beautiful animals. And just share what I love with you guys. And I don't think leopard geckos need to be fancy. I don't think you need orange ones and yellow ones and albino ones. They're just beautiful the way that they are, but it's still awesome that they've made such a large impact in our community that such a variability is available as long as they're not kill genes, like the spider gene with ball pythons, which I won't talk about. So I'm gonna put you right back up here. And just like the other leopard gecko, we are providing UVB. We are providing heat daytime. As well as a very strict photo period. And she's probably gonna go right back over here into her little den. She has a den here, underneath the rock here, and over here. Amazing. Now, last but not least of the geckos, we have our African fat-tailed geckos. Now, this is another project that I've been working on for a long time that we're hoping to breed this year. Fat tails aren't near as popular as leopard geckos, but they're hands down the best. They are the best for beginners. This is a 6-foot habitat that, like the leopard geckos, we cut completely in half. You can see some southern shield ferns in the middle with some sansevierias, arrowhead vines, and some hoyas and peperomias built in. They are on a nice mixture of terra firma, and you can see that the substrate is looking real nice. And they do have a nice little network of tunnels and burrows in here. This pure firma versus this pure Sahara base with the leopard geckos, the humidity spikes a little bit more, but isn't ambient. Meaning the ambient humidity in this habitat is 40%, 35%. But it spikes up to 60 for about an hour a day after we do a misting, then slowly graduates down. That's how you want to do it with fat tails. You want to do little by little, increase, drops. You just don't want a consistent wet all the time. Leopard geckos, same principle, but a little bit less of a humidity spike. Typically take it up to 45 to 55%. Now we have one of my biggest, most popular projects since I've started the dude, and those are my emerald tree skinks. Put it in perspective here. We have been breeding these guys for a very long time, and we finally have more babies. This habitat, as you can see, this is a Kages prototype. We're still working on trying to get this one out on the market, but it's work. We still have our OGs. We still have Gator, and this is Gator's habitat. The others just live in here.
Okay, now I can.
Now, this habitat has been established for a really long time. We did have to build it. Here, baby. You see, there's a whole bunch of them in here scurrying all over the place. We have a whole bunch. So I guess maybe we should just get started with the base. So for starters, we have a whole bunch of egg-laying deposition sites. I'm actually going to be buying a birdhouse really soon, and I'm going to be mounting it here in the back corner. And I'm going to see if that may lay as a good egg deposition site. We have some large cork tubes. We have a large cork tube here and a large cork tube here. And then it's just mounted bromeliads everywhere. This species loves bromeliads because they like to drink water from the axils. If you notice, we have a water dish down here. I don't think I've ever seen them use it. I see the cleanup crew use it way more. Now this tank, I really can't tell you what it's seeded with anymore because this dirt is ancient. Ancient. I know when we revitalized it a little bit, I topped it off with a little bit more terra firma and I put in some oranges, but there was earwigs, millipedes, there's other types of springtails I've never seen before. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. But I absolutely love this build. Love how it works, or how it looks, excuse me. And I know the critters love it too. But yeah, so these are our emerald tree skinks, and we're very lucky to have them. And we have been keeping them successfully for a very long time. And we hope to continue to keep them and breed them for a very long time. They are an amazing terrarium candidate. And if you're ever interested, we always have a waiting list, and we usually sell them in groups because they do not do well kept individually. But this gives you a good example of what a group likes to have. They are not cheap critters by any means. Reptile keeping is not cheap. It is a luxury hobby. Okay guys, so now we're gonna get to one of my most exciting parts of this room, is my dart frog wall. So we actually have been selling our dart frogs on Morph Market. We've been selling them at local shows and of course here at Bioactive Houston. But we wanted our people to see our breeders. Now, these guys, they've been set up in these habitats for a while and they've been breeding healthily. You notice that all the leaf litter is underneath the moss with the exception of the very back for each habitat. So there is an equal amount of leaf litter as in the moss, but all the leaf litter is under the moss. But these frogs are thriving and doing great. So let's get started with one of my favorite localities. This is the Dendrobates tinctorius. Now you guys know tinctoriuses are everywhere. They're an amazing example of speciation. That are broken down into different localities. We don't mix localities, like we don't cross a vacuus with an azurius, like we just don't do that. What I love about the vacuus is they are the smallest, one of the smallest localities of tinctoriuses that you can get. This is my pair. You can see the male right there, and then you can see my girl right here. You can see the female has a larger arched back and quite an enunciated gut for oogenesis. And we have a beautiful philodendron in here, and you can see the moss is just absolutely covered. We actually just pulled eggs this morning. We usually keep a petri dish under here, but just look at how the moss has covered this coconut hut. We absolutely love this stuff. I think it looks great. These guys lay everywhere. They lay on the leaf litter, they lay in their cocoa hut, and they're almost always together. We feed these guys Hydei fruit flies, as well as Melanogastro fruit flies and some bean beetles occasionally, but these guys are always out. So if you want a tinctorius that stays smaller but is always robust and out in the open, these guys are an amazing example. We do have them hooked up to a Mist King that goes off multiple times a day, as well as this is the Frog & Co. 17 Cube. by Hagen. Okay, and then over here we have Go Steelers. We have the Dendrobates leucomella, aka the bumblebee dart frog. Now these guys are found all throughout different areas of South America, and there are different types of leucomella that you can get. So they have fine spot leucomellas, banded leucomellas, bluefoot leucomellas. Like there are so many different unique differentiation of these guys. Okay, so just like our vacuous, these guys the tank is designed exactly the same way, right? We have a solar grow LED on top. We have a beautiful Calathea lancifolia right here, aka the rattlesnake vine. Really healthy helping of sheet moss. Come check this out. Look at this new beautiful fern moss frond growing right in the middle of the water bowl. Look at that beautiful color. Just like everything else, you can see, there they are. So we actually keep a trio in here, and you can see the leaf litter that I was talking about, how it's all gathered. This is actually one of my girls right here. And you can see she's a big one, and they are just, looks like to me she's full of eggs. So we got the misting schedule really heightened for them because their tank almost needs to be flooded because they are considered seasonal breeders. But leucomellas, you can hear their call. It's very soft, but you know, you can definitely hear them. They're one of the other few dart frogs besides some of your phylobates and some of your other types of, you know, uphagas that have a audible call. These guys, you can hear them, and they tend to be a little bit more shy, but they do really good in groups. Hands down, let's go Steelers. I'm all about it. Now, let's go over here to one of my biggest rock stars. These are a tinctorius, exactly like the vacuous and the azurius over here. These are called the peacock dart frogs, also known as the tumu. I can never say it, so I just call them tumus for short. Now, these guys are from the mountain range in Brazil, which is the Tumu mountain range, and these guys are found in like a very niche area. I actually got these guys as tadpoles many years ago from Chase at Houston Frog, so thank you, Chase. This group has turned out to be one of my favorites here, and hands down one of my most bold. We've been breeding these guys at the Biodude for a while. We are keeping them as a trio right now, and they are doing extremely well. We are looking for another male. So if anybody has a European line male, we would definitely be interested. Let us know and email us. You can see that we have a petri dish under there, and then you can see some of the moss spores that are growing directly on top of the coconut hut. These guys have been laying really well for us. We have a beautiful southern shield fern here in the middle, and you can see my big girl here is just soaking her bottom end in the clean water dish. And we have a very healthy layer of moss in here and leaf litter. Being that these guys are my larger tinctoriuses, we primarily feed them hydei and bean beetles, and sometimes some of the hydei grubs, but they do extremely well. Honestly, you cannot go wrong with these species. They are all different. The best thing about keeping dart frogs is there is not a single one that looks like the other. They will always be unique. They will always have something different about them, and the splashbacks the tumus are no different and no exception whatsoever. Hands down, one of the most popular dart frogs we sell, and they're really good for beginners. Because we're breeding them, that's why we're keeping them in these cubes. Ideally, you know, if you're gonna keep tanks, I would try to push you for a 75-gallon like this down here. And last but definitely not least, we have the Dendrobates tinctorius azurius. Hands down, these are the most popular blue frog that everybody knows about, right? How people know about red-eyed tree frogs for tree frogs. These guys are in that same ballpark, right? So let's take a look. These guys are amazing. I got these guys from Patrick Neighbors as a pair a couple years ago, like 5 years ago. Check it out. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. And just to put it into perspective, you can see just how beautiful they are. You can see the difference between the male. So the male is here in the back, and you can see that the male, he is very light, doesn't have as much of an enunciated spot line, which is okay. There we go, buddy. And then my female, She's actually back here, and you can tell that she's a female because she is, come on, come on. And you can see how nice, and she's a little bit darker, has more spots to her. But these guys have been breeding like crazy for us, and they're doing extremely well. With these tanks, as far as maintenance is concerned, obviously we make sure they always have clean water, because isopods, springtails, and sometimes we'll have fruit flies drown in the water. We want to make sure it stays really clean. Sometimes a lot of algae and stuff will formulate in the water, so we want to make sure that gets scrubbed off the bowls. These tanks have built-in drains at the very bottom. So when the water level gets up to about right here, which it does about once a week, all of them collectively drain down here into these drainage tubs. As you can see right here. And then about every couple days, we'll pull these tubs out and completely drain them to make sure that they're clean. Now in here are one of my favorites, my mint terribilis, the most deadly vertebrae on planet Earth. So these guys, we probably have right now over 80 babies for sale. We're going to be listing some up for wholesale if any of you guys want, any of my wholesalers are interested in some for your pet stores. This tank has been set up for a really, really, really long time, and this is a substrate-less habitat. We got moss growing on almost every single stick, growing in strands. And look, these guys, they're not even trying to move. They're just checking me out. This is a 75-gallon tetrafauna, which is also a really, really good tank. And just look at this cocoa hut here. Look at this. Absolutely covered. I'm surprised there's not eggs in there, to be honest. Okay, and we can see we have a whole bunch of different stuff in here. We have monsteras, we have philodendrons, we have a really beautiful cork background, we have Hoyas. Let's look at the root systems. When the water level starts getting up around here, we just pull this out and we drain it. And that just makes everything really, really easy. This is a soil-less setup. And this is something that we've been, utilizing for at least a couple years. Okay, and guys, over here, we'd like to have some of our tadpoles out on display for people to see, especially our Polypedates, just because we have so many. Come buy some. Here, this is what would be considered about a 10-gallon, and this is considered about a 7.5-gallon. These are Ultim Nature rimlesses. We have some beautiful moss established on a piece of manzanita. And then over here, we have more moss established on dragonstone and petrified rock. We have tons of different tadpoles in here. We pull froglets from here. And then we actually just got this one set up not that long ago. We wanted the moss to take hold a little bit more. Then we'll raise the water level up and put probably other types of tadpoles in here just to see how they do. But it also allows us to propagate some mosses that we can offer here in store, primarily just because we're able to ascertain that they're clean and then try to prevent any hitchhikers as much as possible. But we wanted to have these here so that way y'all could see. So here, hey Lucius, this is my male Aki, and he is not very nice, but we love him. You can see he actually has some battle scars. If you look at his, this is from one of the females. So with how big of a boy he is, I mean, look at this gut. Look at him. I know, dude. You're actually being really good, but it's when you're really good that you bite and latch on. So he is we've had this critter for a long time. He's also rare earth lineage. You can see he doesn't want me holding him right now. What's really cool about him is since he is such a big boy, head in charge, he's not really afraid of anything, and we've tried to breed him with 3 different females, and he almost killed 2 of them to the point when we barely got them back. And we introduced him into her cage, Kages. Went through all the proper steps and everything. We just haven't found a female that's even close to his size. I know I'm talking about you. Yeah, here. Come here, bud. Oh, you got me instead. Ah. Here, dude. Here. Here you go. I love how monitors always have to rub their food against everything. Just kill it more. Let me undead you further, or unalive you further. Here. Another one. So, reptiles in general, guys, are capable of operant conditioning. If you guys are unfamiliar there's classical conditioning, which is Pavlov's dogs. If you guys are unfamiliar with that, I'd look it up, and there's operant conditioning, which is the training of them by action and reward. Very similar to how you train dogs and cats. You can do this with monitors and skinks, being the intelligent little critters that they are. And again, I've had Lucius now for over 10 years. An amazing critter. I hope to breed him this year. His habitat is filled with Terra Sahara. It has roughly 12 36-quart bags in it. His hotspot averages between 125 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. He also has a beautiful ponytail palm and 2 ponytail palms that are doing really good. My fingertips are bleeding. I don't use tongs except for my big pythons, yo. It's okay. Here. All right, Lucius, this is the last one. Good boy. You guys want to come and meet him? Absolutely. Come on down and say hi. We have our final ambassador animal, Lieutenant Dan. So a lot of you are somewhat familiar with Dan's story. Some of you may not be. So when I first started selling live animals here at the BioDude, and this was before we had our strong quarantine back end and some of the other strong standard operating procedures, you know, I bought some animals, quite frankly, from people I really wouldn't normally associate myself with. Buying from vendors that I typically would disagree with, but I didn't know that that's the standard that they took. I had to learn the hard way is what I'm trying to say. Lieutenant Dan is an Indonesian blue-tongued skink. And when Dan came to us, he had a compound fracture with my finger. He had a compound fracture right here, with his bone sticking out of his leg, as well as a very, 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 very nasty case of mouth rot. And as you guys know, I'm very fortunate that my wife is a reptile veterinarian, so she put him under full anesthesia. She amputated his leg and gave him antibiotics and injections, and we gave him carnivore care and a whole bunch of other stuff to revitalize him back to health. He is a farm-raised skink. 95% of the skinks that you're gonna find in the hobby, blue tongues, they're almost always farm caught. Actually, don't count me out on that. There are breeders, but a lot of times people don't take that initiative to breed these guys. Dan is one of our poster children, so to speak. Super calm, super easy, really, really nice, not aggressive unless you try to steal his blueberries. If you try to steal his blueberries, he's gonna have something to say. But this is about as big as he gets. And this is a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot habitat. And ideally, by the time that BioDude has our next building, like Nagini, he's going to have one of the largest enclosures just for himself. We keep the humidity in this habitat pretty high, usually around 70%, if not higher. That fluctuates throughout the day. It is a little drier right now. We have Schefflera in here growing. We have a croton growing, as well as a whole bunch of mosses and other things like that. I know there are some roaches established in here that got loose from part of his feeding, as well as other species of isopods. Oh, I'm sorry. You can see he's much more cage defensive when he's in his habitat. Huffing and puffing. Come here. Hey, it's okay. You're okay. It's okay. We are using straight terra firma for Dan as well. So, I really hope you guys enjoyed this short tour. I love the lights up here that we put up. This is the next level up from where I wanted to be before, but we still have a lot of work to do. I really appreciate everybody's support. I appreciate y'all coming and watching my channel and supporting my small business. If you guys like this video or like the content that I make, please hit that like and subscribe button. My name's Josh. I'm the owner of the founder of the BioDude, and welcome to my world. The dude abides.